Welcome back to the Wildcat Extra Roundtable. Northwestern falls to Minnesota last weekend, 2017. We'll be talking about that game today and previewing the upcoming game against Iowa. I'm here with Alex Putterman and the mustachioed warrior over here, Rohan Nadkarni. Alex, let's start with you. Venric Mark already ruled out for this weekend's game against Iowa. What's the Wildcats offense going to miss with Venric not on the field?
Well, what we've seen in the time that Venric hasn't been on the field is that Northwestern really misses the big play threat. Last year, that was really a key to their game. It seemed like every game Venric breaks a 60, 70, even 80-yard rush, and in a game that, the team's scoring 3 touchdowns, that one burst makes a huge difference. And even when you're not running for 80-yard touchdowns, maybe you're running for 12-yard first downs. And that makes a big difference. The rushing game's kind of gone from a strong point on the team to a bit of a weak point. For one drive last week against Minnesota, we saw Stephen Buckley basically do his best Venric Mark impression, and it was great. It also didn't last. Trayvon Green was good early in the season. The carries have been kind of uneven for him. It's unclear whether Buckley is going to take a bigger portion of the carries or whether Green is still in the picture. What about Mike Trumpy, who had a great game against Maine, hasn't done a lot otherwise. So the rushing game is really in flux right now. Last year, if there was anything you knew you could count on going into a Northwestern game, it was the running back, in that case Mark, being there, breaking a big play, and, progressing the ball down the field for Northwestern. That's something they've really missed.
Rohan, really a lackluster performance from Northwestern on Saturday. What's going to be the key against Iowa to getting back in the win column?
Kind of Alex touched on it. I think it's going to be the running game. If you look at the way Northwestern played against Iowa last year, they kind of beat them up at home. They ran the ball 49 times. They only attempted 10 passes against Iowa last year. Ran the ball for 49 times, well over 300 yards. I believe they averaged over 7 yards a carry. So I think they can still be successful on the ground. Putterman kind of brought up the issues with Venric Mark. Quite frankly, I think the bigger key is Kane Coulter's health as opposed to Venric Mark's health. I think when Kane is in the game, they can run their offense properly, and they can get the running game going. Those big plays, I don't know if they would have still happened this season, especially with this offensive line. So I think if Kane Coulter is healthy, that opens up the running game. That allows Trumpy to be successful. That allows Buckley to be successful, and whoever else, Trayvon Green. Last year, Kane had an amazing game on the ground against Iowa. Ran 26 times, over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. So the key to this game, I really think, comes down to Kane Coulter. Can he regain the form he had last year on the ground against Iowa? If so, Northwestern, I think this is fascinating, by the way. For a team that ran the ball for over 300 yards last year against Iowa and only threw 10 times, they were outpossessed. Iowa actually had the ball for 10 minutes more than Northwestern. I don't know how often that happens. But if they can kind of, keep the offense on the field for longer, keep the defense off, success on the ground, that's how they're going to win the game.
And last year, Northwestern had a lot of success all year running option plays with Coulter and Mark. This year, Mark's been essentially out. Coulter's been hurt too, and the offense in a traditional sense just isn't as strong as it is when it's throwing that extra angle, that option angle at opponents. They've tried to run some option plays with Trumpy. It hasn't gone very far. That's just a huge dynamic of the offense that they're missing this year with Mark out, and also in last week's game when Coulter was out.
And if Coulter is able to come back, you look at Buckley as someone who's potentially able to run the option with him well. Simeon, I think he's a better athlete than people think, but it's predictable. He's not going to run the option, so that's a great point. With Coulter back, it opens up the option game as well.
Definitely. Alex, it seems like just yesterday, but 3 weeks ago we were talking about this team being a potential Rose Bowl contender. Now they're staring at a 3-game losing streak. Is this game on Saturday a must-win for Coach Fitz and the Cats to salvage anything out of this season?
Well, Coach Fitzgerald was asked that on Wednesday after practice, and unsurprisingly, he said, no, this isn't a must-win. We're looking one game at a time. They don't like to take a macro look. And then he said he really doesn't think there's such thing as a must-win. And at this point in the season, we've had to abandon our dreams of Northwestern winning the Legends Division and going to the Big Ten Championship game. There's no chance that's going to happen, and you're delusional if you think there is. So at this point, what are we looking for? Are we looking for a return trip to the Gator Bowl? If we're trying to get bowl eligible, then, this is an important game, but I'm not sure it's a must-win. Every game in college football carries some importance because it affects where you end up, where your last game is at the end of the season. One element that makes this game somewhat important is that they've got Michigan coming up, they've got Nebraska coming up. Michigan State's not a bad team either. Unless Northwestern plans on finishing the season with 4 or 5 wins, they've got to win one of these. And Iowa is a winnable game. Even at Iowa, it's a winnable game. And if they do want to finish with 7 or 8 wins, they really got to take care of business this weekend.
Definitely, the upcoming schedule doesn't look good. All right, Rohan, at this point in the Big Ten schedule, the Cats have seen a lot of different things. Ohio State obviously presented more of the spread. Wisconsin and Minnesota more of the power running game with the play action. What's Iowa gonna present to the Cats, both on offense and on defense on Saturday?
Well, I think unfortunately for fans who like to watch Northwestern kind of go up and down the field, it's going to be more of the same. It's going to be a lot of that ground and pound style mentality. You know, Iowa, they played Ohio State really well last week, and they did so by they had their big offensive line up front, and they just pounded the ball. Weissman is a great back, and he has a chance to, you know, we've seen the physical backs have success against Northwestern. Carlos Hyde, everyone on the Wisconsin offense ran on Northwestern, and that's the way Iowa is going to be able to win this game. They also have to play well on the ground. They did a very good job against Ohio State, which worries me. Northwestern, at this point, I don't even think it's a talent thing, but philosophically, their defense is predicated on athleticism, and that kind of wears on them in the Big Ten when they're facing these physical backs. Defensively, Iowa is underrated in creating turnovers. I think they have something like 9 interceptions on the season, which is one less than they had all of last year. So they've shown a penchant for getting those turnovers this season. And quite frankly, Northwestern's offense hasn't been great at limiting turnovers recently. Wisconsin game, the first drive, Coulter throws an interception. Very uncharacteristic throw of him. Simeon has been seemingly in a downward spiral since his pick 6 against Ohio State. Been very inaccurate. He's also at this point a threat to turn the ball over. So defensively, Iowa kind of has to use the Northwestern game plan to just control the ball on the ground, force some turnovers.
We should point out, with regards to Northwestern's defense, particularly against the run, defensive tackle Sean McEvely is apparently back this week, so that should provide a boost. They haven't won a game without him.
Absolutely. You know, McEvely's certainly not the answer to all their problems, but I agree with Alex. A huge help up front on the defensive line.
All right, it is time for everyone's favorite part of the show. That means it's prediction time. Last weekend, both of our analysts picked Northwestern to win. Obviously, that did not pan out. But guys, what do you see happening this weekend?
You know, I hate to play the skeptic, but I'm not sure Northwestern is giving us reason to really believe in them. If you look back, I mean, Iowa went to Minnesota a few weeks ago and beat them pretty handily, and obviously Northwestern at home could not do the same, and I know that's not the end-all head-to-head matchup like that, but really Northwestern, we came in with high expectations, and in their 7 games so far this season, we've basically seen them underachieve in at least 5 of them. There have really been few good games, and so I don't feel a lot of reason to trust the Wildcats going on the road to a pretty solid team, so I'm going to take Iowa 23-17.
Rohan?
Okay, you know what? This week I'm tired of just discussing Northwestern, everything so heavy-handed, and I just want to enjoy football. And if there's one thing that we can enjoy as Northwestern students, it's Fitz taking it to Iowa. We all know he gets up for this matchup. They robbed him of a Rose Bowl in 1995 when he broke his leg on a college game day. They beat Iowa, but they lost Fitz, and that that motivates him to this day. Kinnick is a very, very tough place to play. Last time they went there, a very unfortunate Dan Persa pick 6. They ended up losing a night game. But I think Northwestern, Kane Coulter is back. He is angry. Fitz is angry. He hates Iowa. They're going to pound the ball on the ground. Kane Coulter will rush for multiple touchdowns on Saturday. Northwestern's going to win again. I have Northwestern 24, Iowa 13.
Hate to break it to you, but Pat Fitzgerald won't be on the field.
Hey man, that doesn't mean anything. I don't bet against angry Fitz or angry Kane.
All right. They're on the record. The stash likes the Cats. The Polo, not so much. Thanks again for watching. Tune in to dailynorthwestern.com and Wildcat Extra on Twitter for our coverage all weekend of the game. And be sure to look out for the video next week.